Good morning, everybody. It's, I believe, Tuesday morning while I'm making this video. I resisted for a couple of days for making this video just so the emotions can calm down a little bit. I really didn't want to make this video, but I have to get some stuff off my chest. It's unbelievable what's going on in Toronto right now, and it's the same nonsense that has been going on for a century. But first, we're going to go through Game 5. Really, all I'm going to say about Game 5 is both teams played well. It was a hard-fought game. It literally came down to a game of inches. And what I mean by that is, if the puck goes an inch one way or another, Zach Werenski's shot from the point in the first period doesn't go off Tyson Barrie's glove. Mikheyev's tip doesn't go off a crossbar. Tavares on an empty net doesn't hit the post. And it's a completely different narrative in Toronto today. So at the end of the day, both teams played hard. Both teams are, put a lot of effort into that game. And unfortunately, they worked a little bit harder than us and they got the puck luck. So congratulations to the Columbus Blue Jackets. They got the puck luck that the Leafs needed, and unfortunately, they didn't get it. So it is what it is. I don't blame Frederik Andersen for this series. A lot of people are blaming Freddie Andersen. A goalie cannot lose a game in where the team doesn't score any goals. So even if he didn't let in nothing, you're still going to overtime 0-0. So if your team doesn't score, the goalie can't lose the game. So it is what it is. I'm not gonna put the series on Andersen because the Leafs didn't score in the first game of the series. They didn't score in the last game of the series, and Freddie got a shutout in there too. So I'm not gonna put this on the goalie. It's not the goalie's fault. It's not Frederik Andersen's fault. The season is not his fault. He's a very good goalie. Plain facts. He's a very good goalie. And for how bad the defense is in Toronto, he puts up amazing numbers. The fact that, in October and November and December, he was in the Vezina talks tells you exactly everything you need to know about this goalie. So you can blame the goaltender all you want, but it's not his fault. It's not. It's plain and simple not Frederik Andersen's fault. Yes, there were some weak goals that he didn't let in, but even if he didn't let those in, the team didn't score any goals, so you weren't going to win that game. Obviously, knowing the city of Toronto and the fan base of the Toronto Maple Leafs being so high intensity, high emotion, very soft, not being able to handle any sort of disappointment, losing that series. Oh, this happened again, blah, 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 blah. And yes, they lost, but, it's not that big of a deal. The next morning, after they lost, I teed off and I played golf and I went about my life. It's not that big of a deal. But the problem here is in Toronto is all the media is nonstop stupid. Sportsnet, TSN, these guys were in love with Mitch Marner last year. These guys legit, if you go back and listen to the audio from the radio shows last year, Overdrive, Landsberg in the morning, Sportsnet, it doesn't matter who you listen to. They all said, Nylander deserves Austin Matthews money. Not Nylander, sorry, my bad. Mitch Marner deserves Austin Matthews money. He got 93 points, 94 points. He's the best player in Toronto. He deserves that. Why shouldn't he get that kind of money? Tell me you still believe that today. Tell me you still believe that today. Tell me Mitch Marner is worth Austin Matthews money today. When I told you 2 years ago, 1 year ago, that Mitch Marner is the most one-dimensional, soft, no-grit player. But guess what? You guys fell in love with him. The radio fell in love with him. TSN Darren Dreger was literally campaigning for this guy to get money. Check out my Twitter feed. TML domain at 13leafs01, and you'll see that I documented last year Darren Dreger literally openly campaigned that Marner is better than Matthews, should get Matthews money. All we heard from Bob McKenzie and Darren Dreger were, this is an unprecedented RFA summer. Unprecedented RFA summer. Okay, Marner gets paid. And then all of a sudden, Bob McKenzie goes out. He goes, you know what? It's not really an unprecedented RFA summer. It's just that Mitch Marner got paid. Mikko Rantanen signs for $9.25, who's a million times better than Mitch Marner. All these defensemen are signing for $5-6 million. Braden Point signed for some ridiculous amount of money that's so low that it just makes your head spin. And yet we're paying Mitch Marner, who, by the way, in 4 years he's been in the NHL, he's averaged 20 goals. He's a 20-goal, he's PA Parento with an $11 million contract. Now you can point to his assists all you want and his points all you want. Guess what? He plays on amazing power play unit that gets a lot of points. You want to know facts? Tyson Barrie comes to Toronto, gets no points. What does Keefe do? Puts him on the number one power play, and he got 30 assists. So that's all you need to know about getting points on the Leafs. Mitch Marner is the biggest loser in the history of the Maple Leafs in their 102 since they started playing in 1912. However many years they've been in the NHL. 102 years, 103 years, whatever it is. But you guys fell in love with him. The fan base fell in love with him. Mitch Marner is amazing. I got people ripping me on my Twitter feed last year, on Facebook, websites, doesn't matter. Mitch Marner is the best player in Toronto. But yet, right now, at this point, on Twitter, on the radio, and I'm going to play you some audio from TSN Overdrive, everyone's complaining about grit, heart, determination, and yet you guys love Mitch Marner. You love Mitch Marner, and yet you complain about no heart, no nothing, and then you paid him $11 million.
The level of physicality involved in that series, combined with tremendous puck possession skill, like you need both, not one or the other.
Okay.
But that was such a heavily played series, and a year before that, the Washington Capitals,
He's talking about the
if
Stanley
they
Cup
weren't beating you in
finals.
the alley, they were beating you in front of the net. They combined their high-end skill with their heaviness as well. And I know there are more than one ways to win a championship, but that lesson has to come through in my mind. I mean,
That's a facelift here, though. That's not one player. That's
Trade everybody.
It's a
multiple
facelift.
transactions. We need to get tough.
And Jamie said earlier in the show, you can't bring in quality players. And then the Toronto Maple Leaf Joe from the Bridge theory is, well, yeah, trade a 7th round pick for.
Now they're making fun of you.
Yeah, it's just
Now they're making fun of Leaf fans. Joe from the Bridge thinks, oh, you could just get Yoman Yossi for
It's scary to think that we're talking
seventh
like
rounder.
At this particular point of this
These are the guys that fell in love
Toronto
with
Maple
Mitch
Leafs
Marner.
team, that it's a big job.
yeah, I mean, listen, to me, Lena and Nylander is an easy way to at least dip your toes into it, because you have a lot of skill.
And now, just like they traded Kadri, who had grit and scored 30 goals multiple seasons, got traded. They want to trade Nylander, who can who can cycle the puck with Matthews, who can play with Tavares, who does play make, and just scored 32 goals this season.
Create a lot of difficulty for a lot of teams.
Who plays a grittier game, Nylander or Marner?
Teams because of the financial hardship of the
And now they want to trade Nylander, who makes $6.9 million, to keep the loser, one-dimensional loser that makes $10.893.
made available in the fall that you
But
would
they're
not have
complaining
thought
about grit.
Yeah.
because of the financial hardship in real life. Never mind the cap, in real life. And that's where, if you're looking for some silver linings,
And then Pierre LeBrun also goes on to say, yeah, everything I talked to rival GMs when they talked to me anonymously, you know what they said? Leafs can't defend when it matters the most. In game 1 against Columbus, the Leafs lost a 1-0 game. The score was 2-0. It was an empty netter added on. But it was a 1-0 game. So how much did the Leafs really give up in that game? In the second game, Freddie posts a shutout. So they gave up nothing in that game. And this is with a horrible top 6 set of defensemen that can't defend. And then in game 3, the Leafs had the whole game for 55 minutes. I mean, pretty much they were up 3-0 throughout half that game. And then they had a lapse. They stopped skating. And then they gave up a bunch of goals. Well, that's because the whole team played bad. It's not because the defense didn't play defense. And then the next game, 3-0 game. What does the core that these guys complain about do in game 4? Greatest comeback in playoff history for the Toronto Maple Leafs. These guys are complaining about this core. Yes, Mitch Marner had nothing to do with it. He may have touched the puck a couple of times. But Nylander, Tavares, Matthews, and Hyman orchestrated that comeback. And these guys are complaining about those very players. And then in the next game, the Leafs didn't score anything. But it's a 1 or 2 goal game. And you know what? One puck went off a guy's hand. And the other puck was a lucky bounce between the legs. So how much did the Leafs really give up in that series? They can't defend when it matters. Let's really dissect that series and see how many goals really did the Leafs give up. But these guys are complaining about that core. The same, but it's unbelievable the bullshit these guys get away with. TSN and Sportsnet are the biggest set of hacks in the history of hacks, especially when Darren Dreger himself has admitted that when Pasternak signed his deal in Boston, his $6.6 million deal, Darren Dreger was in the room. Darren Dreger says, I was in the room.
it's still a very good Leafs team.
Darren Dreger says, I was in the room when that deal was signed. Why would an agent and a player and team ownership allow Darren Dreger to sit in that room when that deal is signed? So he's starting to go quid pro quo, and he's starting to go, I'll do this and you do that and I'll leak this and you let me inside the room so I can get some juicy rumors and information and stuff like that. Okay, so you can't trust what Darren Dreger said. Darren Dreger is campaigning on behalf of players to get the best contracts, and he gets access to exclusive rumors and insider information. Darren Dreger himself admitted he was in the room when David Pasternak signed his deal. And then they come out and say, oh, Nylander wants $8.5 million. And he signed, and he got his cap hit ended up being $6.9 million. So I know for a fact I can't trust these guys. Go back and listen to the audio. These guys last year were in love with Mitch Marner. They They said nothing but great things about Mitch Marner. He's the best player. He gets the most points. Why should he got 93 points? Why he got more points than Matthews? Why shouldn't he get Matthews money? And now they complain about grit, determination, heart, all that stuff that Mitch Marner is the poster boy for. He can't cycle the puck. He can't hit anybody. He can't knock anybody off the puck. He can't do any of those things. But they want him to be a pillar of the Leafs at $11 million for the next 6 to 8 years. Tell me how that makes sense. Tell me where does that compute? And then the fans are just as stupid. Like sheep, they follow these losers. Think for yourselves. If you complain about the fourth line not being tough enough, why would you put Jason Spezza on it? Oh, Mitch Marner last year blocked a shot with his face. Is that why we pay him $11 million? So Mitch Marner could drop and block a puck with his face? Because if he really blocked it with his face, he wouldn't be playing. So he blocked a shot. Great. To say, he blocked a shot and he deserves $11 million is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. But people throw it at me on Twitter every single day. This guy blocked a shot. He's got so much heart and determination. Really? 1 goal against Boston last year, all series in 7 games. No goals in 5 games this series. He scored 16 goals this season. We're paying him $11 million. How does that make any sense? It's your fault, though. You can't complain. You can't complain about the Leafs having not a tough enough fourth line and want Pierre Engvall to be the center. You can't complain about the fourth line when you're dying for a feel-good story and you want Jason Spezza on it. Jason Spezza is a puck hog turnover machine. Yes, I love the guy too. Ideally, Janssen wouldn't have been put back in the lineup. Nick Robertson was great. And if Nick Robertson shouldn't be in the lineup, put Jason Spezza as the left winger on the third line. At least this way he's he's playing some offense. He can create offense. He cannot backcheck. He does not play defense. He's proven in his career that he's a minus player. And yet we put him on the fourth line, and in the first game, they got dominated. And so Keefe cuts the fourth line in the first game. So the Leafs are playing 4 lines of Columbus against 3 lines on the Leafs. And guess what? The Leafs get tired. They're rolling 4 lines, 4 heavy lines, and the Leafs, and then Matthews has to double shift against that. Why isn't he scoring goals? Do you guys not see any of this? Do you not pay attention to any of these details? There's lots of educated hockey fans in Toronto, but yet they swallow this crap on a yearly basis. TSN has no idea what they're talking about. Just go listen to the audio last year. Mitch Marner is the best player in Toronto, and now we have no grit. Well, if your best player has no grit, no determination, we pay, pretty much Mitch Marner just gets paid to kill penalties. And if you haven't noticed, go look at the stats. Since Mitch Marner was put on the penalty kill, the Leafs have been bottom 5. Those are facts. Leafs did not have a bottom 5 PK, but since Babcock put Mitch Marner there, they have been bottom 5 ever since. Mitch Marner is a net negative on this team. He does nothing. He had 1 fluke lucky season where he was twirling around and doing pot de berets and double Salchows, and he got a bunch of goals, and they're like, oh, Tavares would have never hit his career high. His career high from the year before on the New York Islanders is a handful of goals. So Tavares scored 5 or 6 more goals than he did on Long Island. Okay. So you're telling me that Marner gets paired with Tavares and he goes from 22 to 26 goals, Marner, but his points shoot up to 93 and Marner is the one driving that? How about it's the guy who scored 47 goals? Let's look up a stat here. So, John Tavares scored 37 goals and then comes to Toronto and scores 47. That's a 10-goal increase. Mitch Marner is getting paid $1 million a goal. John Tavares is a talented guy. We took all of the credit away from John Tavares being a talented player and we fawned over signing him. And then when he scored 47, we said it's only because of Mitch Marner that he did that. I mean, this guy, since the day he was drafted, is top 5 in goals scored. Since the day he was drafted in 2009. That's 11 years ago. This guy is top 5 in goals. Unbelievable how this fan base and its media complains about everything, but then puts Mitch Marner on a poster and says, this is the best player in Toronto. Who believes that? In this day, right now, on, what is the date today? August 11, 2020. Who believes that Mitch Marner is even top 2 or even top 3 in Toronto? Matthews, Nylander, Tavares. Mitch Marner isn't even top 5 if you include Morgan Riley or Frederik Andersen. And yet he's getting paid on par with guys who can score 47 goals. John Tavares just scored 47 goals last year, and Matthews scored 47 goals this year. Just understand that. These guys are close to 50 goals a season, and Mitch Marner's getting paid on par with these guys, and he has a 16-goal season. I called into TSN Radio. This is what happened.
Bradford, how do I say your name?
Shariar?
Shariar, thanks for calling.
Thank you for speaking to me. A couple of years ago when Marner's contract was up, I called you guys specifically because you guys were having a conversation that Marner is the best player on the Leafs. And I called and I said, you guys are being a little disingenuous with the stats because you refer to his 93 points and all these different things, but you're not referring to Matthews missing games. And if he would have played those games, he would have scored 40, 50 goals, and the points would have been there. And now we're in a place where Marner, off that one fluke season, he's averaged 20 goals in his career so far. He's a 20-goal guy. He's PA Parental making $11 million. I don't care how many points this guy gets. This city and its fan base has been through so much, and yet they fell hook, line, and sinker for Mitch Marner. And they colleague complain on the radio show like they do now. Oh, we have no heart, we have no grit. Well, Marner doesn't have any of that, but you fell in love with him anyways.
I don't understand when you say it doesn't matter how many assists he gets. Like, why would you determine that it doesn't matter how many assists he gets? And would you not say that Mitch Marner was the difference over the past, let's say, between this past season and last season? What was the biggest difference about John Tavares?
So he says, why would you say assists don't matter? John Tavares has had an uptick because of Mitch Marner. Again, giving the credit to Mitch Marner and not the franchise #1 center that this guy was drafted to be. Mitch Marner is not franchise nothing. John Tavares, #1 overall franchise center, gets no credit for his stats when Mitch Marner is in the conversation. And that's what Michael Landsberg is doing right now. And then the same guy in the same radio show. So this is from August 10, yesterday, hour 4. I posted it on my Instagram, TML domain. Definitely go check it out. He just says, none of that matters in the playoffs. In the playoffs, what matters is heart determination and all these things, toughness, grit. And then he goes, why would you say assists doesn't matter? He's contradicting himself, and that's why I called in. He's contradicting himself. He's saying, well, why would you say assists don't matter? We've seen an uptick in John Tavares. Okay, Michael Landsberg, how about you message me on Twitter, Instagram, wherever, and tell me how many points or goals did John Tavares score against Boston last year in 7 games? I know Mitch Marner didn't show up at all. At all. What did John Tavares do? Because you say assists matter, right? Where were the assists last year in 7 games against Boston when the Leafs were up 3-2 and Matthews was scoring 2 goals? Unbelievable that they make all the excuses, anything and everything in the book for Mitch Marner. Forget John Tavares has no talent. He only scores because Mitch Marner passes it to him. Obviously, that's true, right? The guy's not a #1 overall franchise center. He's not. He hasn't spent his life scoring goals on better than 95% of the NHL because he's top 5 since he got drafted in goals scored. None of that matters. It's Mitch Marner. Where was Mitch Marner in the playoffs this year? Matthews was a point a game. Matthews tied Wendell Clark for most playoff goals before the age of 23. Where are these things when it comes to Mitch Marner? Mitch Marner, most assists for a player under 23 for the Toronto. Where is that? Because he's not getting assists. He's not doing fuck all. But yet, what everybody else does is contributed to Mitch Marner. John Tavares scores, it's Mitch Marner. Matthews scores, it's Mitch Marner. The power play is great, it's Mitch Marner. And yet all you do is complain. Think for yourselves. Don't listen to this bullshit. TSN and Sportsnet are not doing you a favor. They are filling airtime. For 2 months, all I heard was Mitch Marner is the best player on Toronto and he deserves Austin Matthews money. That's all I heard for 2 months last year. Go check out my Twitter. I raged against every person who said that. I said, this guy isn't worth $9 million. And guess what? He scored 16 goals this year. You proved my point. It's not about I'm right or who's right. It's about the city complaining about the same things every single year. Nazem Kadri gets suspended every year. Trade him. We did. What did we get for Nazem Kadri? Tyson Barrie, who provided 0 offense for the Leafs this year, ruined the #1 power play. And we got Kerfoot, who I like Kerfoot. He's talented, he's skilled, he skates fast, all that stuff. He's got 0 grit. We complain about him. Tyson Barrie, soft as hell. Everybody complains about no grit, but we got Tyson Berry and Kerfoot. For Kadri, who stood up for his teammates on a regular basis and blocked shots and scored 30 plus goals twice. He made $4.5 million and we traded him. His cap hit was $4.5 million. And then what did we do? We signed Spezza to put him on the fourth line, more soft. Kapanen's got some grit. Nick Robertson showed a lot of grit against Columbus. He's going to be a great player for a long time. He can score goals. He's got grit. He works hard. He cycles. He's everything Mitch Marner is not. Matthews went super hard this year. He looked great against Columbus. He was knocking people down after whistles and scrums. He was checking. He was on the forecheck, slamming people into the boards on the forecheck, turning over the puck, cycling the puck. He was doing circles in the offensive zone. Scored a couple of nice goals. Got the OT winner. Scored the game winner in game 2 with a nice tip. Austin Matthews is a great player. Should have been captain. But that's a whole different video. You can't name John Tavares captain. I love the guy, but he's a robot. He's got no personality. And on a young team like this with a lot of energy and enthusiasm, you can't name John Tavares captain and kill that. You should have named Matthews captain. I understand everything that happened last year in Arizona and everything, but for just talking hockey and what's good for the hockey team is Austin Matthews should have been captain. And he's got a lot of swagger. He thinks for himself. He's got a fashion sense. He is an independent guy and he leads by example, and he's the best player on the team and he gets paid the most. He's the leader. When it came to the casual dress in the bubble, Matthew said, I want to express myself. I wanna be able to, and then he spoke up and he goes, I hope the NHL does this on a permanent basis. I hope we get a chance to be more ourselves and express ourselves and show the fans more of us. See, that's what a leader does. John Tavares, he was like, well, I would have been okay with the Maple Leaf golf shirt and shorts and khakis, but the team decided. No, Matthews decided. He should have been captain. Everything aside, he should have been captain. But cancel culture and everybody has to get canceled. Everybody has to get fired. Everybody has to lose their career. Everybody has to lose their jobs. Everybody has to get pulled off TV. Everybody has to get pulled off a movie, a set, whatever it is. It's just people sitting at home with no accomplishments, no future, no goals, no aspirations to be anything bigger, and they just want to rip everybody down. When it comes to making a pure hockey decision, what's best for the team, Matthews should have been captain. If you watch that post game after game 5, Matthews sitting next to Marner, he had the most disgusted look on his face. He's like, you putting me in the same conversation with this guy? You're putting this guy on my level, my pay level? Matthews missed out on the Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy in his rookie year by 4 goals to Sidney Crosby. And then people want to go and talk about Mitch Marner as the best player on the Leafs. Why? Because Matthews got injured and missed some games and he didn't have enough points? Points are great if you're Connor McDavid, if you're Leon Draisaitl, if you're Sidney Crosby, if you're Malkin, if you're Ovechkin, and you're scoring minimum 30 goals, then 100 points is 110, 120 points is super amazing. It's unbelievable. But scoring 90 points and having 16 goals or 18 goals is not impressive. It just means that you played with a bunch of guys who could fill the net. Like Wayne Gretzky is a legend. He's an icon. But you know, in a year where he only scored 90, I say only as if it's a little. He scored 91 goals, but he had 200 plus points. I think it was like 214 or 220 or something like that. How do you get 200 points? You got two wingers that score 50 plus goals. That's how you get 200 points. And you're on a power play with Messier, Curry, Paul Coffey, Glenn Anderson. When you're on that kind of power play, when the defenseman is getting 80, 90 points, yeah, Wayne Gretzky's going to get 200 because he's playing with a bunch of guys that are filling the net. Wayne Gretzky is a great playmaker, but if you don't play with a 50 goal scorer, you can't get 50 assists. And yet in this town, Mitch Marner is the best player because he got a lot of points. They're empty. It's meaningless. They're empty calories. I get a lot of points are great, and if you want to win an Art Ross, that's nice. But the guys who win those trophies with their crazy point totals score a ton of goals because they're superstars. Mitch Marner can't score 20 goals regularly. And yet, everybody wants to rail against William Nylander. He said before the season started, I am going to dominate. And guess what he did? 32 goals. Meanwhile, he's playmaking, putting pucks on a tee for Matthews. All-around player. He's not one-dimensional, soft, floating playmaker who can't hit, he can't do nothing. This fan base, this city, like I said on radio, you guys we've been through a lot. We should learn by now. But everybody fell hook, line, and sinker for Mitch Marner. And then you complain about no toughness, no grit. No, I get it. We don't have that because you chose to fall in love with the guy who doesn't have it. If this town was nonchalant about Marner and was like, well, you know, he's a great player, but he's not the best, he would have got paid less or he would have got traded for asset. Do the Leafs really need Mitch Marner? What makes that line go? Zach Hyman. Why did Tavares' line get better? Because they put Mikheyev on there. And now we got a super young, talented rookie and Nick Robertson who can do all those things and fill the net. Mitch Marner is not the one that makes that line go. Clearly. He did nothing in the playoffs last year against Boston. He did nothing this year. And the Leafs didn't score. Huh. You need a playmaker? Where is he? The greatest playmaker, blah, blah, you know, Marner the magician. Yeah, he's a great magician. He made himself disappear. He's fucking Houdini. David Copperfield, this guy. He's a magician, all right. He made himself and his line disappear. But guess what? Tavares scores in game 2. Why did Tavares score in game 2? Because William Nylander was on his line. They put William Nylander on his line, and guess what? Tavares scored. This town will never learn. Take your emotions out of it and think for yourself. Think logically. You want a better fourth line? You want a grittier fourth line? Don't put Jason Spezza on it. If you want superstars, if you don't want to complain about a core that is soft, well, get Mitch Marner out of there. Matthews, Nylander, and Tavares did their job. I don't expect a lot out of Kapanen or Janssen. These guys are getting paid $3 million, 3.4, 3.2. These guys are not the difference makers. Mitch Marner is supposed to be a difference maker. He's paid like a difference maker, and he hasn't showed up for 2 years. But you want to complain about no grit. But that's the problem. More Michael Landsberg.
But the biggest difference was that for the most part, he wasn't playing with Mitch Marner. He scored 26 goals this year. Last year, he scored 47, by far the highest of his career. And I would tell you that the reason for that is Mitch Marner.
So Mitch Marner scored 16 goals this season and 26 last year. He scored 22 before that, and 19 before that. He's averaging 20 goals. I don't care what his career high is. He's averaging 20 goals. And John Tavares scored, his goals went up by 5 or 6 playing with Mitch Marner. It's not like it was a 20-goal increase. It was a handful of goals more. But everybody wants to give the credit to Mitch Marner when John Tavares came onto this team and he played on one of the best power plays, and they were scoring goals like crazy. And they want to chalk it up to Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner is overpaid by at least $3 million. And this fan base fell for it, and they pushed the team to sign him, and they gave him all the accolades before he had done anything. He scored 1 goal against Buffalo against Boston when we went to 7 games. He did nothing in that series. He did nothing in this series. He's done nothing overall.
I wish we could continue this conversation, Shahryar, because...
And then he cuts me off.
I don't want to fight the argument with you off the line, so we'll just leave it at that. Jared from Ottawa. Morning. What?
He sighed, and then he cut me off. Speaking facts, but these guys love Mitch Marner. Come on, Leaf fans. Come on, Leafs Nation. You know I love you guys. I am as diehard as it gets. Okay? I love Leaf fans. You guys are the best. I have all the time and respect for you guys. But start thinking for yourselves and stop listening to this bullshit. Because this bullshit is why we haven't done fuck all in 50 years. Because as soon as they're eliminated, guess what? There's going to be change, articles come out, headlines. There's going to be changes are coming in Toronto. No. Dubas didn't do anything wrong. Shanahan didn't do anything wrong. If anything, look how much better this team has gotten since Shanahan came aboard. And Mike Babcock was complaining about the same things. He's like, I love Zach Hyman. Why did Babcock fall in love with Zach Hyman? Because he has the grit and determination that the Leafs need to win in the playoffs. And yet, all you fans out there railed on Mike Babcock because he didn't know what he was talking about and he's a shit coach and he got fired. Now what? Now you guys are saying we have no heart, no grit, no determination. Well, that's what Babcock wanted. Babcock knows what it takes to win. The guy's got a resume that looks amazing. He is a Hall of Famer. He has a Stanley Cup. He knows what he's doing. You, regardless of how long you've been watching hockey or how much you think you know about hockey, Mike Babcock definitely knows better than all of us. So when he says Zach Hyman is my favorite guy on this team, he's giving you hints. He's saying, please give me more guys like him to the management. I need more guys like him to supplement the Marners, the JTs, the Matthews, and the Nylanders. Because Hyman makes his line go. And then look, they got Mickey, which Babcock was really happy about. Unfortunately, he got hurt. And then he made the JT line better. But Babcock was saying for years is what you guys are saying now, but you guys hate him. He's a shitty coach. Fire him. Sheldon Keefe is not better than Mike Babcock. But Mike Babcock try to force this team to play a more defensive game, a more well-rounded game. Let's not load up the top line with Matthews, Tavares, and Marner, because like we saw in Game 5, that second line with Nylander as the center was completely ineffective. Yeah, Matthews and Tavares and Marner were roll out there and they'd have a great shift, but as soon as they got off the ice,
Welcome to the show, Jared.
the Marlies rolled out of there. It was a completely ineffective second and third line. And then you put Mikheyev on the third line. It was so ineffective. And then, throughout that game, they were switching lines and things like that. But Mike Babcock, everything he was saying, everything he was trying to implement with this team is exactly what we're talking about this offseason. We need change. We need a less offensive defense. You can't put 6 offensive defensemen out there and expect to play defense, because they won't. Muzzin and Hall right now are a very good shutdown pair. That's great. That's 2. And then you have Riley, that's 3. But Dermott, Ceci, Barrie, Marinson all need to go. Go out and get a bunch of guys on league minimums like a Roman Polak that just play defense. The Leafs need to stop this run and gun nonsense. It doesn't work. Mike Babcock was trying to tell you for years this run and gun stuff doesn't work. And then we say, well, we get stymied by a defensive team because that's what works. Look at Boston. They load up on one line and the other 3 lines just play trap defense. And look how successful they are. They make it so easy on their goalies. You put a Frederik Andersen in Columbus or Boston or Vegas or Minnesota, these really good lockdown defensive teams, and you see how much his stats would be off the chart. You guy's an amazing goalie. You can't put up for a goalie to put up a .916 save percentage with the Swiss cheese defense that's in front of him. That's legendary. Leafs give up odd man rushes like crazy. Why? Because they have offensive D-men that pinch. Dermott, horrible pinch in Game 5. Dermott needs to go. And the fact that Marinson played and Liljegren and Sandin didn't play, or Calle Rosen didn't play, that means those 3 guys are not better than Marinson, and Marinson shouldn't be in the NHL, so trade all of them. Trade Marinson, Rasmus, Sandin. If the guy's not good enough to play in one of the most crucial games and you put Marinson in there, then trade him. We don't need him. Trade him for a draft pick and try again. It's unbelievable that we have to go through this every summer. We bitch, moan, and complain. And yet, when the team gets Tyson Barrie, we get so excited. We don't need Tyson Barrie. We have Dermott, we have Sandin, we have Liljegren, we have Morgan Rielly. Let's go and get a defensive defenseman. But then we complain about our defense not being defensive enough. We trade Kadri, who's all grit and stands up for his team, for a softer player. We have no grit. It's not rocket science. Think for yourselves and stop listening to this stuff. First of all, TSN and Sportsnet are not doing anybody any favors. There's a reason why McLean and Kyprios and all those guys are gone. And Dreger, like I told you earlier, this guy sits in on negotiations for player contracts between big time player agents and teams. Like I said, he was there for the Pasternak signing. When they negotiated the Pasternak deal, 6.6 million, Dreger was sitting in the room. Why was he sitting in the room? Because it's quid pro quo. He goes out and campaigns that this guy's amazing and should get more money, and he gets rumors. And he gets some. And plus, I think he's learning the player agent business. When he retires from this rumor nonsense, he's going to start making money in the background. But the guy's got his own agenda, and that's fine. Everybody has their own agenda. But just be smart, think for yourself, and don't listen to this nonsense. These guys have been spewing nonsense. I don't know who it is. Michael Tracos. I think he's the star of the National Post or something like that. This guy wrote an article, Cody Franzen should be captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Are you for real? Is the guy even in the NHL? When he left the Leafs, was he even noteworthy? But he should be captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Original six. 100 years in the making. Cody Franzen should be captain. And then another hack, Rosie DiMano, I don't know who she writes for, wrote the exact same article, different words. Cody Franzen for captain. Are you guys even in the room? Like, when you go to interview these players after games and you're in the locker room, do you not pay attention to the dynamic? Do you not see what's going on? Does Cody Franzen look like a guy to you that can lead this team? But that's the media in this town. I read the papers and I listen to this stuff too, but I take it with a grain of salt. There is some information in there. There is some value add. But just take what you need and throw out the rest. Trading William Nylander is not the answer in Toronto. If the Leafs ever trade William Nylander before they trade Mitch Marner, you trade both, that's fine. If Marner stays and Nylander goes, I will liquidate everything. On my yard, I will put everything out, hats, t-shirts, sweaters. I will liquidate everything. I have signed jerseys, hand-signed jerseys. I have everything. I will liquidate all of it. I will never touch or turn on a TV with a Leaf game again. And and if Nylander ever gets traded, it's because of this stuff, TSN and Sportsnet, and the fans pick it up and they run with it on Twitter. All over Nylander. Trading Nylander at $6.9 million is going to do what? Trading another 30 goal scorer that makes $6.9 million instead of the loser floater that makes $10.893. It's going to do what? What is $6 million going to do to you? You can't even sign Pietrangelo for that money. It's trading guys like Nylander or Tavares or Matthews or Riley or Anderson is not. That's the core five right there. Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, Riley, Anderson. Mitch Marner is totally on the outs right now. Watch that post after that game. Matthews couldn't even look at Marner. He was actually, instead of sitting straight on with the camera, and Marner's over here and he's sitting, Matthews was actually sitting a little bit this way. He was tilting away from him. You can feel the hate. He's like, where the hell are you? What are you up to on the ice? Throwing the puck away with your stupid passes and turning pucks over. That's not what your game is. Matthews did everything to will his team to the next round of the playoffs, to actually make the playoffs, to play against Tampa. Matthews did everything in his power, and Tavares was trying too. Got some puck luck, he hit the post. It happens. He had like 6 shots that game, 6 or 7 shots, 8 shots that game. But at least they were trying. At least they were there in the slot, battling, through sticks, battling through bodies. They were there. Where was Mitch Marner? It's the same old, always. Same old in this town. Hate the guys love the guys that suck. Hate the guys that are actually doing something out there because you're not paying attention. You're listening too much to this bullshit. Now, I listen to Overdrive religiously. There's a lot of good content in there. But sometimes you got to call out people for their bullshit. And Landsberg in the morning with Kolyakovo, they were openly campaigning about how Marner is the best player, and Overdrive did the same thing. They fell hook, line, and sinker for Marner. And right now, Marner isn't even in the top 5 of the team. Facts are facts. I love this team. Listen, if you told me tomorrow that the Leafs will win the Stanley Cup next season, but they had to trade Matthews, Tavares, and Marner, I would say, go ahead. It doesn't matter to me who's on the roster, as long as they win and they're successful. I don't care what the roster is. Look at the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're doing great. Look at the Carolina Hurricanes. They're doing great. But they don't have a superstar roster. But they have a couple of young guys. They have Aho, Svechnikov. You know, you can't do it without some talent, but if you told me the Leafs would win the Stanley Cup, but you got to trade Matthews, Tavares, and Marner, I would do it right now in a heartbeat, because all I want is for the team to win, for them to be successful. I don't care who's on the team. And you guys should be the same way. Stop falling in love with players that are not doing their jobs. Mitch Marner is turning into Bobby Holik and Scott Gomez. Be smarter. You guys are educated hockey fans in this town. Hockey's been around for over 100 years. You guys have seen a lot of ups, a lot of downs, been through a lot of heartache, learned from those things. And stop falling in love with the Mitch Marners. Mitch Marner is doing nothing. He's a net negative. And he's just one guy. Tyson Barrie is another guy. You know, poor Jason Spezza was put in a role. The guy had to fight for the Leafs to do something. The poor guy had to fight. The guy's got 4 girls at home. He's getting paid the league minimum to play on the 4th line, and then he has to fight. Now, I know as fans we got all hyped up. Oh, Jason Spezza, he got the fire lit. The Leafs came back and he started. I get it. Those are all great things. It's a very romantic idea. It's a romantic story. I love these things too. But the key storyline here is he shouldn't be put in that place. He should be putting it. If he's playing, he should be put in an offensive role. Putting him on the 4th line is everything we complained about. No heart, no grit, no nothing. Because he's not going to hit, he's not going to smash. But you see Clifford, he goes out there, boom, kills the guy. And then he sets the tone for the game. We need more guys like that. Putting Engvall and Spezza on the 4th line is not the right idea. They should be 3rd lineup. You know, it's a really good argument to actually go ahead and trade Johnsson and Kapanen at this point. You know, you save around $6.5 to $7 million, 6.6 or 6.7, I think it is in total in cap space. And then you take the $4.5 million that you already have, and then you go out and you get yourself a stud defenseman. If you can't sign a Pietrangelo, he's a Toronto boy, maybe he might come. If not, you go out and get a couple of guys like a Justin Braun, a couple of mediocre $2, $3, $4 million guys that are just play a stay-at-home steady game. And then Engvall can play on the 3rd line. Nick Robertson can play on the 3rd line. Spezza can play on the 3rd line. The Leafs signed, this Russian kid Abramov. Was it Abram? Hold on. Let me Google this. Let me go on my website. I wrote a story about this. Was it Abramov? Return to play. Wow, that's a lot of articles. No, Barabanov, Alexander Barabanov. And, you know, the Leafs signed Mikko Lehtonen as well. So you have Barabanov, you have Engvall, you have Nick Robertson, you have Jason Spezza, you have Johnsson, and you have Kapanen. Those are 6 guys that can play on the third line and second line. Mikheyev. But the third line is only 3 players. And the fourth line, we want to be tougher. We want to be grittier. We want them to be a dump and chase, a cycling, forechecking line. You know, Clifford, Gauthier, and, you know, Korshkov or something like that. Even Igor Korshkov on the Marlies. The guy can score goals. He's a big body. He's probably the best right wing power forward that we have in our organization. So you have Barabanov, you have Korshkov, you have Mikheyev, you have Johnsson, Kapanen, Engvall. You have all these guys. These are assets you can use to go out and get something. But putting Jason Spezza and Engvall on the fourth line is not the answer. This is where Keefe is something Babcock would have never done, but Keefe did. Keefe actually took out Nick Robertson, who was having a net positive impact on this series for Johnsson. And Johnsson had actually a terrific chance. And like I said, puck luck, in one-timer, he puts it on, the goalie just gets his glove on it, and it doesn't go in the net. But Nick Robertson would have buried that. Nick Robertson would have buried that. He would have hit that puck so hard, it would have gone in the glove and it would have came off the guy's hand and it would have gone into the net. I don't know. So now that the season's over and the lottery just happened and the Leafs ball rattled off the post and the New York Ranger ball went up, which is very ironic. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the off season. I will be making a couple of more videos in terms of before free agency starts and things like that. I will be posting a lot of rumors on tmldomain.com. Please follow there. We have over 2,000 subscribers already, so we would love for you guys to sign up, and we will be posting rumors. There's already a lot of rumors flying around. This is Toronto, so coming off a big loss. There's already Nylander and other rumors. Don't believe that for a second. If there's a Nylander rumor out there, don't believe it. And yeah, so thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button if you like the content, and I'll be back with more. See you soon, Leafs Nation. Enjoy the summer.